Our question today is, should you buy a 17-year-old high-performance German car? I did, and here's the story about it. All right. This is my 2008 Audi RS4. I've owned it for just over a year now, and I've passed about the 10,000 kilometer mark, and I'm gonna tell you all about the experience. The good, the bad, what I love about the car, what I wish was different, and things I would change if I were to do it all again. Some of the reasons I bought this car is 1, V8, 2, it only came in a 6-speed manual, and 3, it just has a timeless look to it. Even though this car is 17 years old, it still looks quite good and it cleans up very nice. Now, this car is a 4.2 liter naturally aspirated V8 that puts out about 420 horsepower and revs all the way to 8,250 RPM. So you can imagine with a 6-speed manual, ripping all the way to 8,000 RPM and banging next gear, it's an unbelievable feeling. And not many modern cars can match that. New Audis, they only have their DSGs that are ZF transmissions that honestly just lack a little bit of driver's input and lack the feel of driving a performance car. Yes, they're quicker in a straight line. Yes, you can corner faster. Yes, it's got all that garbage. But this is more of an experience to drive, and that's why I searched for one for so long. Another reason these cars are so sought after and I wanted one so bad is the factory wide body kit. Just look at how wide the hips are in comparison to the taillights of this car. It gives a really wide look and it makes it look so much more sporty compared to the new Audis that are basically just an A3 or an A4 with a different badge on it and a bigger motor. This actually is basically completely different than A4. The only things that are the same as the A4 are the front doors and the roof. Everything else is RS4 specific. Another reason I wanted one of these is how rare they are. So these cars, there's about 10,000 in the world and only about 2,000 of those came to North America, which probably means about 700 in Canada and the rest will be in the States. Which probably explains why I looked for a car like this for over 2 years before I found one that was in the color I wanted with low kilometers and a decent ownership history. So if you can find one of these in good condition with good history and a proper owner that actually took care of it, it's a very rewarding car to own. All right, so starting with the pros of this car is the engine. The 4.2 liter naturally aspirated V8 is an absolute monster. Puts out about 420 horsepower as previously mentioned, and it just sounds absolutely unbelievable. So that's got to be my biggest pro about this car. This motor is just awesome. There's no other word for it. It's enjoyable all the time, and you're never any short of RPMs. The next biggest pro about this car is the driving feel. You got the 6-speed manual and you got Quattro all-wheel drive. And I live in Canada, so Quattro is very important, especially for our winters here. And it also has rear biased all-wheel drive, so it sends full-time 60% to the rear wheels, and it can send even more if it detects it's needed. A little more on the driving feeling with this car. So it has proper hydraulic steering, not the new electrical garbage that doesn't actually give any feel. You can actually feel this thing going through corners, you can feel the tires, you feel like you're really in control of the car. As well as the Quattro with the 40-60 split, 60% of the back, 40% in the front, really gives a more sporty feel to the car, and it doesn't understeer like normal Quattro. So in this thing, you can actually take corners at whatever speed you like without crashing, which is a great Audi Pro. I owned an S4 before this, and it understeered like a boat. It was terrible. It had the sport differential, it had a bunch of sticky tires on it. It should have handled great, and all it wanted to do was throw me into the ditch. But this thing, I can actually drive confidently, and it feels great all the time. The 6-speed manual is brilliant. The clutch is very heavy, but again, it just adds this purposeful analog feel of the car, where it requires you to be in it, not like the modern cars where it feels like it's driving itself and you're just a passenger for the ride. This car really wants you to drive it, and it wants you to be a part of the experience. All right, well, now's the time to go over the cons of the car, but I'm gonna drive it while I go over those so I'm not so sad. So, starting off first here with one of the cons of getting, honestly, any German car, especially an old German car, you're gonna have expensive maintenance. One of the big problems with these cars is carbon cleans. So it needs a carbon clean around every 50,000 kilometers or 30,000 miles if you want it in cheeseburger units. And that you can do it yourself. You take it to a shop, depends on where you go. I've seen it anywhere from like 800 bucks to over like 1,500. Honestly, it depends on which shop you go to, and some of them do a really good job, and some of them, they just kind of scrape away the stuff and don't clean it perfectly. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, part availability. For an old car like this, parts are very hard to find, especially the fact that there's not many in North America. You're really stuck on finding high quality parts, and lots of times parts have rust on it and it's about the same condition as your car with rust on it. Another one of the cons of this car, which kind of comes as a known fact if you're getting a V8, the fuel economy is not great. It says it gets around 12 to 13 liters per 100 kilometers, but I think that's an absolute lie. because I got a 65-liter tank and I get about 360 kilometers a tank, which gets expensive really quick, especially when you're putting in 93 octane fuel. But you get V8 noises and it's fun. So pros and cons there. Pro, I'm taking the V8 over the expensive gas. Going back to the maintenance thing, another big issue with this car is just like any older car to have little things that go wrong. Like right now the air conditioning compressor's not working, so it's 26.5 degrees in here and we got 3 guys and we're all sweating. Just look here, the econ button, which should enable the air conditioning compressor. You can't turn it. So that's something I'm gonna have to address over the winter here. Another one of the cons is rust. Especially living in Canada, there's probably more salt they put on the roads here than all the oceans combined. It's brutal. And this car was winter driven by its previous owner. So I'm getting to that point where there's some rust bubbles popping up. I'm gonna have to deal with it. And the car's likely gonna get a full respray in the spring and just kind of freshen the whole thing up. But rust is bad. It's just a cancer that slowly eats away at your car, and it's really unfortunate because you see the car just withering away. You think, oh, that's possibly not that bad, and then you look at it in a month or two and it's a little worse, and it's a little worse, and it's a little worse, and then all of a sudden you got to repair your door or get a new door. And then that swings back to the parts availability thing. You can't find the doors here, so you got to get a door from an A4 or something and get a door blade and make it work, which is tough. But V8 noises. So, and the rust is on the outside of the car. And when I'm inside the car, I can't see it, so I just pretend it doesn't exist, which helps. Another thing you're gonna find with this car, even though it has a 420 horsepower V8, which was very fast by 2008 standards, nowadays, it's not the quickest thing. My recommendation of this car would not be to buy one and line up next to a new GTI, because you're gonna be humbled as they're exactly the same speed as we found in an earlier video. And if you go against a tuned GTI, you're gonna lose that race. And it's gonna be humbling knowing that this was about 100,000 Canadian dollars new, and they got that GTI for 40 or 50, and they're now 2 car lengths ahead of you, which does hurt the ego a little bit, but you just get to live with the fact that they're listening to an inline 4 that sounds like a vacuum cleaner, and you get a nice V8, which screams all the way 8,000 RPM. But that brings me back to the point where this car is more of an experience. You're having more fun in here, at least in my opinion, than you are in a new car, and you see that as the pros to owning it versus something new. Another con to this car, unfortunately, is the DRC suspension that it comes with. Now, from the factory, it's absolutely brilliant. It's some of the best handling and feeling suspension that I've ever driven in. The issue is it's steel lines, which in Canada, they just get rusted away and disappear. And parts are very hard to find, and it's very expensive to fix. So everyone I know with an RS4 has their switch to coilovers. This has been switched to Bilstein coilovers, which have been a massive improvement because I never have to fix them again. However, the ride quality has gone down a little bit just because the DRC is a cross-system hydraulic dampening, which just works fantastic. And you're not gonna get that from just normal coilovers. You're not gonna be able to match that feel. But it's just something you gotta do with these cars, and it's something you gotta live with, unfortunately, unless you wanna drop a lot of money getting new suspension. I was quoted about $2,500 to fix my one little leak on the corner for a line that they had to order in from Europe and then bleed the whole system, and it was a whole ordeal. Or I just got all around Bilsteins for $1,600 that I'm never gonna have to touch again. So, a small price to pay for suspension that'll last forever. Well, there we go. That is my 10,000 kilometer ownership review of my B7 RS4 here. And like I discussed in the video, there are lots of pros, there are a few cons, but if you can find one with a good ownership history, lots of maintenance records, and I mean lots, you want a binder about 2-3 inches thick, and that should be pretty substantial and good enough for this car. If you can find one like that, and it's a clean example, it's a very rewarding car. I love it. It's one of the favorite cars I ever owned, and currently I plan to keep it forever. If I get some big issues, we might see. But if you have the opportunity and you want to dive into something like this, I highly recommend you get your hands on one. And I'm not just saying that to boost up the market for them while I own mine. But that's it for the video for today. Let me know what type of videos you'd like next for the car, and don't be afraid to leave a comment, and please like and subscribe to the channel.